Live inside the Rude Air and Water Studios of WDAE. Timmy B, Tim Bernard on the other side. Chris Mathis is out. He has been suspended indefinitely, and he will have to reapply in order for him to rejoin the show next week. That's what happens when he takes off on such a big, momentous occasion. The Tampa City Council is meeting as we speak. The public commenting period is still going on. It is endless, man. There are so many people lining up to get their 3 minutes to say what they want to say about the Ray Stadium situation, and then they're going to vote on it. I'm going to be here until they vote. So we're on the air at 6 o'clock. It's probably going to be past 6 o'clock at this point. Whenever they do vote, we'll bring it to you right here on WDAE. So I'll be here for as long as it takes. So more on the Rays. We'll keep you updated on when that vote will be coming down. The Hillsborough County Commission is scheduled to vote on the Rays Stadium proposal tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. So more on the Rays as events warrant. But ladies and gentlemen, we are also talking about the Buccaneers and tomorrow night, the preseason finale up in Jacksonville. Whose job is on the line? All NFL teams have to get down to 53 by Sunday evening at 6 o'clock. So the Bucs have a lot of interesting decisions to make. And ladies and gentlemen, let's bring him in on the WDA hotline. He's all over it. He covers the Bucs in the NFL for FoxSports.com. Our guy, Greg Auman, back with us here on the drive. What's up, Greg? How are you?
Good, Tom. It's good to hear from you. Hope you're doing well. I like this stay on until they stop talking. It's like a reverse filibuster or something you got going there.
I have to do it, Greg. You know, I got to stay here until whenever they decide to do this vote. There's like 1,000 people lining up to try and say something. I'm surprised you're not down there.
All right, I do enough talking on my own, but I'll help you get there, man.
I appreciate you, man. And you were up for those joint practices up in Jacksonville, were you not?
I was both days.
So the first day did not go well. So try and summarize what happened on that first day, because you heard what Baker Mayfield had to say. You know, Jacksonville played with their hair on fire. Chris Godwin had some really interesting comments afterward as well. But what did you see?
Yeah, it's one of those where, I mean, it's not, you know, it's like I had a Jaguars reporter come up to me near the very end and ask me who I thought won it. So I don't think it was as decisive as some people have said. I do think the Jags got the better of them. I think both defenses probably had the better day. I look back, and it's like there was a sequence early on where they were back-to-back nice touchdowns, corner fades in the end zone, where Parker Washington for the Jags beat Jacob Parrish, and Brian Thomas Jr. beat Zion McCollum. And then there was a run where Jaguars were forcing fumbles. It's like Payne Durham had a catch and was going to the end zone, and they poked the ball out right for the end zone. And Devin Culp had a catch, got poked out in goal line as well. Just more big plays by the Jaguars for sure. It came down to, they kind of did a 2-minute move the ball type thing at the end, and the Bucs defense got a stop, which was nice. But then Baker had a pick, which is probably worse. And I think that was just like a miscommunication where he and Tez Johnson weren't on the same page. But yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of wow moments for the Bucs. I think, you know, you look at some of these individual one-on-one pass rush type drills, and those the Bucs definitely popped out in. You saw Ruben Bain again. Honestly, you saw Vita Vea for the first time in those, and he looked really good there. So there were moments. It's not like this was 80-20 Jaguars or something, but they probably had the upper hand, I would say.
Was that Big Bob Hainsey that got put back on roller skates by Big Vita Vea? What's that?
How many people put Hainsey back on roller skates? No, that was a backup center.
Okay.
So that probably made it a little easier for Vita, but just to see him muscling anybody around in what's essentially his first day back was impressive.
Greg Auman, FoxSports.com's with me. So Ruben Bain got hurt that first joint practice. It might be unfair to speculate. Was it on that hump move, which he used his right arm against that offensive lineman, or what?
I don't think so. I was there for that. That's one of those where nobody there Tuesday really noticed it, but it was later in practice, and they took him off the field, took him inside, kind of dressed the shoulder, wrapped the shoulder. But to hear Bowles, Bowles seemed fairly confident yesterday. It's whatever, 17 days, I think, till the opener, and he felt pretty confident that it wouldn't be something that would impact him in week one. He was out there at practice yesterday. It wasn't like he had it wrapped or anything concerning like that. I think he's just going to take it easy for him. Luckily, really, he wouldn't have been playing Friday anyway, but the next week or so is a fairly light week, whether you want to go or not. So I think that probably helps him.
Some other good news. Tristan Wirfs was out there practicing. He looked good. He felt good. He talked with you guys afterward. What do you have to say?
Yeah, just to see him back out there. I mean, to see him in kind of 11 on 11, wasn't sure if they'd work him back in when you're going up against somebody that, might not be as sensitive to him coming back. But they did. I thought he looked fine. He feels good about things. He was talking about all the work he did, lots of different things, trying to get that hamstring ready while he wasn't practicing. Really busy with that, but felt good about where he is right now, let alone where he'll be in 2 weeks. I think he's fine. It's like Ben Chukwuma was back. I think he probably can go Friday, which makes it a little bit easier. They had the rookie Paul Rubelt taking literally every snap at left tackle in the last preseason game, so they should be a little bit better. Still down 2 tackles, but not down 3.
That's good news. Also back at practice, Benjamin Morrison, a former second-round pick. He's making his way back from the hamstring injury, Greg. What's going on with him?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, it was kind of what you would expect it to be. And that, I mean, yesterday in 7-on-7 was kind of a 3-man rotation between McCollum and Parrish and Morrison, which is it's a long time coming. This is the 4th week of practice and really the first time he's gotten in. But, if they have those 3, those are 3 corners they were kind of banking on having at the start of the season. Now it's just a matter of which 2 they have out there at a given time. I think Keontae Scott, I should say, the rookie from Miami, he's probably in good shape to be the nickel, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
If it's one of those where if Morrison's outside, that opens up Parrish to get some nickel as well. But between the 2, that's probably who you'll see out there, kind of in the slot on defense.
A lot of roster decisions have to be made. Greg Auman, FoxSports.com, with me here on The Drive on WDAE. Buccaneers and the Jaguars, final preseason game tomorrow night up in Jacksonville. A lot of talk about the quarterbacks. Jalen Daniels has been very effective. He's been a big surprise so far this summer and throughout the first 2 preseason games. So he's probably going to play a lot tomorrow night, Greg. If he does play well again, is he QB2 ahead of Jake Browning, you think?
I don't know about that. I definitely think he's on the roster now, and I think they're going to carry him on the 53, which is impressive for an undrafted rookie. The problem is just that if you try, it's kind of like if you have 3 quarterbacks on the 53, it doesn't even necessarily matter who the 2 is, in that if Browning, with his experience as the 2, Jalen Daniels, even if he's inactive as the 3, could play, because nowadays they let the 3rd play if the first 2 are out of the game. What would be big is if they try to cut Browning and put Browning on the practice squad and gamble they can get him back there, which would be a bit of a risk, because if he just, I mean, at that point, he has the right to choose where he goes at that point. So he might say, forget it, I'll go back to Cincinnati, I'll go somewhere else, anywhere. You don't want to have your only backups on the roster be guys that have never thrown a pass in an NFL game, and they'd be at risk of that. So I would be surprised if they moved on from Browning. I think they'll carry 3, and I think they're very excited about Jalen Daniels just being a developmental quarterback, over the course of the season, whether he's dressing as the 2 or Browning is dressing as the 2, that doesn't matter as much, probably.
The wide receiver position, very, very deep. It appears they're going to carry at least 6. Greg, could they carry 7 receivers there?
They could. If they carried 7, you'd really be counting on somebody to help on special teams. I guess, I mean, I'm thinking of 6 as being Cam Johnson, because he's really been the only one to handle returns. If they wanted to keep David Sills, they could. He's been good as a gunner. But I think they probably are confident they could pass him through the practice squad. And he'd kind of be in that Sterling Shepard role, where you have a veteran who's great for the room, but maybe not dressing on Sundays right now. Ready if somebody gets hurt. If you're down 1 or 2, you can certainly elevate him. I would be surprised if they carried 7 receivers right now, but it's hard to know what they'll do.
Your best guess as to what happens at backup running back, because, Josh Williams is a guy the Buccaneers like a lot. Now, Sean Tucker had, $3.5 million as a restricted free agent tender. We know that Bucky Irving and Kenneth Gainwell are the first 2 guys. Could Sean Tucker be a guy, Greg, that possibly maybe gets dangled? Maybe somebody calls Jason Light if they're looking for another running back. What do you think happens back there?
Yeah, I don't think there's many people that want to trade for the right to pay Sean Tucker $3.5 million. I think that's why the Bucs have their apprehensions right now is paying a 3rd running back $3.5 million. So they could just go with what they have. They could carry 4 and keep Josh Williams as the 4th. If they were trying, if let's say they just paid Vita Vea money, a ton of money, and they were trying to save some cap room, you might try to cut Sean Tucker and try and bring him back for less. And that would risk him, again, wanting to go somewhere else. I don't think he's going to get $3.5 million from any other team, but if you wanted to try and bring him back for 2 or for 1.5, trusting that nobody else might offer that, you could do that. But again, it kind of makes it an adversarial relationship with somebody you still might be counting on down the road. So I don't know if they'll do that or not, but to see them kind of floating Josh Williams as RB3, it makes that a possibility.
Greg Auman, FoxSports.com's with me, breaking down the Buccaneers, and they're going to have to get down to 53 by Sunday. A lot of interesting decisions that need to be made. Greg, I'm looking at the safety position where Antoine Winfield Jr. and Tyke Smith, very good. Behind them, a lot of question marks. Is that a position where Jason Licht goes out there this weekend and maybe looks at the final cutdowns and picks up another guy?
It could be. There really isn't an obvious third safety on defense. They brought in a guy named Ifeatu Melifonwu, who's been fine. He had like 50 tackles last year for the Dolphins, has good size for a safety. He could be the third safety. I don't think J.J. Roberts is going to make the 53. He's a guy people were excited about a year ago, really just started practicing this week. I think he's probably a guy they're confident they can get through to the practice squad. Miles Killebrew, technically a safety, but he's really a special teams player. Mm-hmm. You would only play him at safety if there were multiple injuries. So yeah, the only other name I think right now that's really in contention for the 53 is Rashad Wisdom, who's been really active on special teams. Smaller guy, but someone that could make it right now. I think there's a real chance if the right safety were to get cut, they could claim somebody and then have them as a fourth safety and kind of, probably, a ninth DB on the roster, that kind of thing.
Inside linebacker, I think we're all in agreement. Obviously, Alex Anzalone, free agent acquisition. He's got the green dot. Todd Bowles has been communicating with him, trying to get that down. Josiah Trotter, second-round pick, should be the starter alongside him. Behind those two guys, Greg, there are a couple of guys that are banged up. What can you tell me about Christian Roseboom and also Servassier Dennis and the other guys behind them?
Yeah, that's kind of wide open. I don't know what they're going to do in that Roseboom and Dennis both trying to hold off younger players. And both haven't practiced for a while. So you could see one of them open the year on IR. I don't know that either of them are completely safe for the 53. Roseboom's a guy that started a good amount of games last year. So he made sense as LB3, as a guy they could trust to come in for either of the other two if they needed somebody to step in for injury. They got a lot of young guys they like. There's a rookie named Caden Fordham from NC State that Bowles has had pretty consistent praise for. He'd be a guy who's all over the place on special teams. You kind of want your backup linebackers to do that. The two guys that are left over from last year, you had Nick Jackson and John Bullock, who made the team as undrafted rookies a year ago. They're both there. They could step up. I think those are both guys that they might be able to get in the practice squad as well. So it's just a matter of whether you carry 4 or 5 linebackers, whether you trust these veterans to get healthy. Maybe you carry 5 because you know that one of those 2 vets isn't going to be healthy enough to play in week 1. There's a couple different ways they can handle it, but I really can't say with authority which guys are going to make the cut right now behind those 2 starters.
And they have to play special teams if you're a backup at one of these positions. Outside linebacker, a lot of depth there. Chris Braswell, I think it's an uphill climb for him to make this team. Is he a guy who possibly is trade bait? Maybe the Buccaneers put him out there tomorrow night, Greg, and showcase him a little bit. What do you think happens?
They could. He wasn't practicing in Jacksonville, so that complicates things. Is that I don't know that I expect him to be healthy enough to play tomorrow. Maybe you could get a future 7 or something like that for him. I don't know. There's a lot of people. Obviously, he's a former second-round pick, so the teams that liked him coming out of Alabama, maybe there's somebody that would claim him if he were cut. I don't know if you're giving up a draft pick for him, but he's in a tough spot right now, and then I feel like the top 5 outside linebackers are really set in Diaby and Bain, in Nelson, in Muhammad, and Walker. No one's going to touch those 5, and I think they'll carry a 6th. That could be Mo Kamara. That could be somebody else. Then maybe they just carry 5. But again, Braswell's right there. If he's on this team, he's basically on this team as a special teams player. Your 6th outside linebacker is not going to get any real defensive rotation reps at all. That was a guy like Marquise Watts last year who's going to play 200 snaps on special teams. He might play 20 on defense. So if your second-round pick is reduced to that, you already lost in a way.
Jack Pyburn, he was up there, right? Somebody was texting in about him?
Yeah, and I think a lot of the drama with him going back to college seems to have come and gone. The SEC has, so they're going to, any team that signs a former NFL player is going to get half their annual budget docked as a fine. The coach is going to have a half-year suspension. So I think a lot of the threat of him going back probably is gone. I think he recognizes that he's a pro, and once you're a pro, you pretty much have to stay a pro. So Piper, again, could make the 53. He's much more likely a guy for the practice squad, I think. Had 2 sacks, so there's probably some interest, but I don't know that anybody would claim him. I think they can get him back on the practice squad, but we'll see. They could have a surprise in terms of somebody they really like that they've seen behind the scenes that we don't really know about.
Great insight from Greg Auman, FoxSports.com, wrapping it up with him. All right, I'll get you out on this. Obviously, the game tomorrow night. What do you expect this weekend leading up to Sunday at 6 o'clock? There's going to be a lot of moves, and I would think the last, 6 or 7 spots on this 53-man roster could be fluid with guys coming in from other teams. Maybe a trade or two happens. How frantic is that going to be this weekend?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. There's definitely a couple spots that, whether by injuries or by nobody stepping up, there's still concerns. So, safety, again, could be claimed. Interior offensive line, that's one of those where they're kind of just okay there. Billy Schrauth, who's a late-round draft pick they like, has been hurt. He might not be ready for week 1, so maybe they get by with like practice squad elevations for that last interior offensive line spot. But yeah, they're going to make a ton of moves Saturday, a couple moves Sunday, and then always intriguing to see. A year ago, I think they picked up Jason Jones from the Ravens on practice squad. They don't get too many outside additions here because they like what they have and the guys that have practiced for them all summer. But it's always fun to see if they're able to get somebody from another team and kind of build your depth from outside.
All right, 17 days to go until Cincinnati. Is there a chance, Greg Auman of FoxSports.com, that the Buccaneers come to an agreement for an extension? Chase McLaughlin's looking for an extension. Cody Malk, Yaya Diaby, Baker Mayfield. Any chance that one of those 4 guys gets a deal?
No, it's a chance. I would say Baker might be the most likely. If Baker were to change his mind and decide to take a little bit less just to have the comfort and knowledge that you got 2 years guaranteed or whatever it would be. Yaya Diaby they like, but you don't know how Yaya Diaby fits in. If you give him $25 million a year and then he's third on your team in sacks, it's going to look silly. Cody Malk, again, they like Cody Malk, but still don't know if he's back full go from injury. So you don't really want to give him something and then find out that he's not back to his full self. I don't know that they can afford him at what he might get on the open market anyway. So I think Diaby, Malk, even Chase. McLaughlin, I think he's probably the most consistent kicker in Bucs history and has been an absolute asset for them for the last 3 years. I don't know that his value changes that much from now to next year. So, or if they want to wait till after the season, I think they know that he likes where he is. He's a little bit like Baker and that he'd kind of been all over the map and he's really glad to have settled in and found some consistency and stability here in Tampa. So I think he wants to be here. It's just a matter of paying him more than what he's getting right now. They can knock that out after the season. I don't think they have to get that done before the year starts.
A lot of questions, but the football season is here. One more preseason game, and then it's on to Cincinnati. He's all over it. You can read him, FoxSports.com. Bucs, NFL, he is all over it. Greg Auman, the only thing he's not doing is being down at the Tampa City Council chambers for the public commenting ahead of the Ray Stadium vote, Greg Auman. I appreciate you, my man. I'll talk to you soon. Oh, did we lose him? Oh, he's gone. All right, Greg, I appreciate it. I thought he hung up on me. Thanks, Greg. Greg Auman, FoxSports.com. You can read him there. He's all over it. Last year, number of game-winning kicks out of Chase McLaughlin, and he was 11 of 12 from 50 yards and longer and greater. However you want to call it. 50 yards plus, he was 11 of 12 with a long of 65.
I like that.
He only missed 1 field goal from 50 plus. He missed 2 field goals between 30 and 39. I think they might have been blocked, actually, and he was 9 of 11 from 30 to 39. But he was money last year. And I can tell you, I was there at camp when he talked a couple of weeks ago. He didn't seem too pleased. A lot of kickers got extensions, and he certainly hasn't been one of them. He felt like he deserved it, but it has not come to fruition. So he's motivated, obviously, to have a really good year, as is Cody Malk, as is Yaya Diaby. Baker Mayfield, is there a chance in the next 17 days maybe something happens? Thought it was interesting. Greg said he's got the best opportunity maybe to get an extension if there's a compromise that could be had somewhere. 888-388-0957. Text at 82945. on the Bartow Ford DA text platform, where standard message and data rates do apply there. We've got Let It Ride coming up at 5:30. We're scheduled to be on until 6, but with the Tampa City Council dragging this process along at a snail's pace, public commenters are still taking their turns, taking their 3 minutes each. So I'm going to be on for as long as possible, for as long as I can, and it could extend past 6 o'clock until we get that vote. So keep it right here on WDAE. When that vote comes down, we'll get it to you first. So when we come back, the latest on that, plus the Rays after an off day, where do they stand now? Less than 30 games to go until playoff baseball. Can the Rays win the American League East? We'll talk about it next.